Joining me now is Renee Hoganson. She's running in Missouri's 4th District against Representative Vicky Hartzler, who is a Republican seeking her 5th term. Renee, welcome to the program.
Hi, Cenk. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So first, let's start with your opponent, the incumbent. Does Vicky Hartzler agree with the majority of the people of Missouri on the issue of what you guys had as Proposition A, what they call right to work, which is an ironic label, or does she not agree with the people of Missouri?
Well, Vicky Hartzler has signed a national right to work bill, and why that's significant is Missouri, as you mentioned, we just had an election voting down right to work by 67%. And the other thing to me that's significant about this, I was with the unions as we went from the Capitol building in Jefferson City to the Secretary of State to deliver 300,000 signatures from the Missouri people that said they want to vote on this issue in August of 17. 3 times the number of signatures required to put that referendum on the ballot. Vicky Hartzler, 2 months later, co-sponsors national right to work legislation. So basically what she's saying is she does not care that the people of Missouri wanted to vote on it. She does not care that we just had an election and we do not want to be a right to work state. She wants us to be a right to work nation. And it's just a slap in the face to Missouri voters. It's a slap in the face to democracy. It is a slap in the face to families' wages.
Yeah, being against 2/3 of the voters doesn't seem like a particularly brilliant strategy or one that is based much on democracy. But of course, the way that a lot of these incumbents win in both political parties is not because they're appealing to the voters so much, but because they raise so much money and they drown out voices like yourselves with all the ads that they can buy. In her case, does the money come from the people of Missouri, or does it largely come from the business interests who would like to crush those workers' rights?
Exactly. That's exactly the problem. When you look at her filing on the FEC website, half of her money comes from PACs, Coke money, NRA money, sugar money from all over the nation. We don't really know why. The other 45% comes from people that can write $10,800 checks. Less than 5% of her donations comes from people like you and me, Cenk. My PAC money, my filing, I have no PAC money. I have all individual donations. We are a grassroots campaign. We've raised over $300,000. We've had 3,800 people donate to this campaign. So our average donation is right about $70. And I personally, I could not be prouder to be representing the people of this state. It's why I started running for Congress a year and a half ago, because I knew that it was going to really require a lot of groundwork. It was really going to require a lot of handshaking and meeting people where they are, and knowing that I would have a Coke-funded, a PAC-funded, well-funded opposition opponent.
Yeah.
So that's just the landscape.
Yeah, and look, we talk about it on the show often, but still, I'm not sure people understand how difficult it is to raise $300,000 without PACs. To raise it, $5, $10, $100 at a time. So it really shows incredible grassroots support for your mission. So let's talk about what that mission is. I hope we have time to get back to your what you've done in the past, because I find that interesting too. Not a lot of progressives with your background, but so what are the big campaign issues that you're focusing on?
Well, my fundamental why for running for Congress is in my platform that I call house cleaning reforms: campaign finance reform, lobbying reform, and redistricting reform. And I believe that if we can get reform in these areas, get the money out of our elections, disempower the lobbyists, and ensure that our voters are actually choosing their congressman, we will recreate our government in the image it was originally conceived, that really is run by the people and for the people. And that's really my why. I mean, when Senator Warren introduced her anti-corruption bill on the Senate floor, I mean, that I am just I am all about that. If I am lucky enough or fortunate enough, I guess, to be elected in November and go in January, if that bill has come to the House floor, I am going to be all over that. And if it doesn't, I will submit my own. I will introduce my own piece of legislation that's an anti-corruption bill, because it has, this, what we have right now is so far from democracy. I mean, we basically have oligarchs, and we have a plutocracy really running this government, and it's just sort of dressed up to look like democracy. And we have got to work to take this back.
Yeah, I also love Senator Warren's anti-corruption bill. She came on this show, Rebel Headquarters, to introduce it, and so if you're a vote in favor of that, I need everybody in Missouri's 4th District to rush out to vote for Renee Hoganson, because we have got to get money out of politics. We have got to clean up what's happening here. It's not that much removed from the oligarchs in Russia and other places that run the place, and these billionaires and these multinational corporations that buy all of our politicians. It's a disgrace to what's happened. The founding fathers said we need to be the representatives need to be dependent on the people alone, and that is not the system we have now. We need that bill.
Exactly right.
We need an amendment. We need a convention. We need all those things to make that happen. Now, you also say that you want to provide a living wage for working families. So when you say that, what do you mean? How would you improve the wages of the people in your district?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because I get asked a lot about the $15 minimum wage, and I 100% believe that we have to have living wages for our families. The situation, however, in rural America, and certainly in rural Missouri, I can speak to that, being here. Rural communities are about 25% depressed compared to our metropolitan counterparts. And so really, if you created a wage that was $12 an hour, that would be much closer to what $15 would actually represent in Kansas City or St. Louis, as an example. What I would like to do, because we have to ensure that our workers have living wages. It is a moral imperative. So one of the things that I believe we can do is we can help our small businesses in particular to sustain and deal with these increased costs of doing business. So I would like to create a quarterly tax credit commensurate with the increase in the wages. We do not want to be shutting down our small businesses, especially in our rural communities. Our rural communities are already struggling so much, largely due to the changes in the antitrust laws that happened back in the 80s, and the lack of competition and the higher incidence of monopolies that we have. But which of course obviously is partly what has been crushing our wages. So we want to help our small businesses in particular to sustain those increased costs, and that would be a great way to do it. That would infuse money directly into the pockets of their employees and would stimulate their local economies.
So Renee, you would know a thing or two about running a small business, because you ran 3 local magazines and then sold them. But that's not the unique thing that I was referring to about progressives I don't often see in their background. There's plenty of progressives who are business people who are running today. I know, because I interview them all the time. But one I haven't seen yet was that you're a Rotarian. My dad was in the Rotary. So how was your experience in the Rotary, out of curiosity?
Well, I believe in service. I mean, it's the why for why I'm running is I believe that we need to step up if we can, and we need to serve. And to me, serving in Congress would be the highest form of service that I can imagine. So it's about service. It's about being a public servant, and that is I don't know if it's the chicken or the egg for me, but I believe in service as the principle of a happy life. I believe in giving to others, and being a Rotarian has certainly been part of that in my adult life. I think I've had a service component to my life since my early 20s, really.
Yeah, I remember when the Rotary was taking a vote on whether to allow women, and I remember my dad, who at the time was a Republican, was conflicted about it, because a lot of the guys didn't want that to happen, and that's the circle that he was in. At the end, he voted yes to admit women, and I remember him telling me about it at the kitchen table, and he said, "I have done lots of business at Rotary Club. They should have chance too."
That's awesome. Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that he voted to allow women. Yeah, I was a little disconcerted. I was already a member when I realized that it was 1987 when Rotary allowed women, allowed female members. So yes, at the moment I realized that, I thought, oh, do I really want to be a part of a group that is so late coming to this table? But that being said, Rotary now, the landscape of Rotary is quite a bit different, is quite a bit more inclusive. My first Rotary club, we have the nickname of the Women's Club. So we had 50% female membership, and it was fairly young. It was much younger than the other clubs. In Columbia, Missouri, where I live, we have 8 different Rotary clubs. So it's a very strong Rotary town. I know a lot of other towns will have other organizations, other service organizations that are maybe more predominant, such as Optimists and Lions and that. But in Columbia, Rotary is a very strong brand, if you will.
Yep. All right. I want everybody to know what the website is, reneehoganson.com. And obviously, she's going to need your volunteers and your donations to make this possible, because her opponent has a ton of corporate PAC money. And this election is winnable, especially in what appears to be a blue tsunami coming. So please get out there and volunteer and donate for progressives who want to fight for you. You should fight for them. Renee, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Cenk. I really appreciate you having me. Thank you.
The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.